Greetings, Grey Witch here. So today I want to talk about my favorite racing vehicles. Now I have two vehicles for each class that I race. I have a short track and a long track vehicle. My short track vehicle are vehicles that have good acceleration and great brakes. My long track vehicles are vehicles that have great top speed and handling. So that's pretty much how I break up my cars for racing, and it's pretty much just two vehicles for each class. Now for my short track and my supers, I use the Emperor ETR1. I love this car. It fits my driving style. I dig the way that it looks. There's not really too much about it that I don't like. It's, for me, a really good car for any tracks that are under 2 miles long. I get good braking, which helps route, taking really good tight turns and stuff like that. Because usually when you're having a race that's under 2 miles, there's going to be tight turns, quick, bends and stuff like that. But this car handles it great. I love it. It actually works really well as a long track car, but it doesn't really have that great of a top end. It just depends on what other vehicles you're racing against. So this is my pretty much number one pick for short tracks on supercars. There have been some others, but this is the one that I normally go to all the time. Now for my long track vehicle, it's the Trifati Thrax. This vehicle has a great top end and it takes corners awesome. So I really don't have any problems in races at all with this vehicle. I can use this in stunt races, just regular street races. It's an all-around great performing vehicle. The top end is up there with the few vehicles that do hold the highest speeds. It's not at the top, but it's close enough for me to be able to work it around. And sometimes I really don't want a vehicle that's the fastest vehicle. I'd rather have a vehicle that I can push hard than one that I have to back off of. Because sometimes if you have a car that's too fast and going around corners too hot, starts slamming in the walls. I'd rather have a vehicle that I have to push into a corner, and this one's more like that. It just holds great, it grips great, and it's got a pretty decent top end, so I love it a lot. Now for my sport, short track, I love this little car. It's the Weenie Issy Sport. I never thought that this would be a car that I would really dig, but I have a friend of mine who is an amazing driver in this car. He is nearly impossible to beat if he is driving it, so I had to get one to try it, and I can drive it nowhere near as good as he can, but I love the way this car handles. It takes off like a scalded hog. You could slide it, you can pretty much do anything you want with this vehicle. It's a great all-around vehicle, and I love it for my short track racing. Once I get to where I'm as good as driving it as friends of mine, then I'll be happy, but for right now, this is the one that I'm sticking with, and I'm pretty pleased with it. It's a pretty good car. I dig it a lot. Now my long track, believe it or not, is the Dinka Sugoi. The Honda Civic. You wouldn't really think that this would be a car that I would use for my sport long track racing, but I really love the way that this car handles. Now it's not the fastest, and sometimes, it does cost me races sometimes, but I love driving this car, and the handling of it, I can keep up with people who are driving much faster cars than me. If as long as you have like the tail drift thing going on or whatever. And it's a great car. I like it. I think it's one of those few cars that everyone in the game should own because, like I said, it handles great. It's a great racing car, and some of the stuff that you can do to it, it just makes it look really impressive. And I dig driving this one, and it's always going to be in my garage. Now, for my muscle short track, this is my absolute favorite muscle car in the game. It's the Vapid Blade. I love this car, and it used to be my main driving car for muscle, and used to be pretty much my everyday driving car. I love this car. I love the car that it's based on. This car is a real heavy body car, but once you learn how to drive it, you can get it around every corner without an issue. It'll hug corners and just fly down. It's a great car. I dig it, and it's muscle class, and it's one of the hardest ones to drive. So you got to really find a car that fits your style of driving, and this one really does. Since this one was added to the game, I've been driving this car. I really dig it. It handles great in every aspect that I need it, and I think it's really awesome. Now for my long track for muscle, believe it or not, it's the Shyster Deviant. Now, when this car first came out, I really wasn't a fan of it until I started racing muscle cars to find out which car handled the way that I needed it. And I went through every muscle car in one track and just until I found the ones that were the best, and this one was it. This is the one that fits my driving style. I don't really like the way the engine sounds, but I can get used to it because of the way it handles for me. And believe it or not, it's a great car. If you drive muscle cars, then you probably already have this one in your garage. If you don't drive muscle cars, you should try this one out in a few races and just see if it's something you dig. Because for a muscle car, it's really good. And sometimes you're in race groups and you need it. Now, for sports classics, which you rarely ever get to race, if you're ever racing more than 6 people in a sports classic race, you've got pretty much everybody who drives sports classics and GTA Online, because I can never get a full lobby of sports classics. But the Silvestre, Anna Silvestre right here, is my favorite short track. I love this car. It is a great little sporty car. It's zippy. It can be a bit slidey in the rear end, especially if you're not used to driving sports classics, muscle cars, and cars that are real powerful and really light. It's a great car. I love this car. I would drive the hell out of this car in real life. I dig the way it looks. There's lots of good liveries for it. There's just a lot of different ways that you can make this car custom. And for my short track racing, I absolutely love it. It's a really good car. I can't say enough about it. It's one of the ones that I drive probably the second most in the game, because I will drive this one just riding around in lobbies and having fun. Now for my long track and sports classics, it's the Ocelot Swinger. And the acceleration and top end of this vehicle make it a shame that I cannot race this against other supercars and sports cars, because this car is phenomenal. And one thing you have to do is you have to learn how it behaves going around corners, and because it will totally get away from you. So if you're not used to driving muscle cars and sports classic, I would not recommend this car for you at all. It is real slidey, but if you can get past that part of it, it's a really good performing vehicle, and you can win some races with it. Now for motorcycles, I became one of the people who only ride the Harley style motorcycles in the game, and for my short track, the Western Cliffhanger is my number one vehicle for this. It's a great vehicle, mainly because of my ability to ride wheelies on it and get the speed boost that you need to. You can hold X down in races, and then I'll give you basically your lean forward kind of speed boost. But the wheelies is where you really do it. And this vehicle has great brakes and just awesome all-around performance. I would say it's most likely most equal to the one sport bike, I can't remember the name of it, the Dinka something. But it's a great bike, and I love racing it. And as you can see right here, as I come around and hit this, I get a best lap, so it's not too bad. It's a good motorcycle. Now my long track motorcycle is another Western Harley style, and it's the Western Nightblade. And this bike is really heavy. It's kind of like the stretched out sport bike that we have, and you can't really ride wheelies on it, which makes it good because it gives it more of a grippy road kind of handling aspect to it. It'll take corners relatively well. You can zip in and out of a lot of places with it. Top speed's pretty decent, and I've won quite a few races with it. I used to race mainly just sports bikes and races, and I got all the way from that, and now that I'm racing the Harley style bikes, I'm actually winning a lot more races, and it's kind of weird, but this bike, it performs well for me in the way that I drive, and I really dig it. And if you're looking for a motorcycle that's kind of different, you might want to pick this one up. Now for my off-road short track, I got this one. It's the Nagasaki Outlaw. I don't even remember how I got it, but I'm pretty sure that I got it for free because it's a pretty expensive vehicle, and I don't think I would really buy something like this normally. But I actually fell in love with this little vehicle. It is a nimble little sporty kind of four-wheel drive deal, and I dig it a lot. It has become one of my newest favorite vehicles. I wish there was more options for it to customize it and do some other stuff to it, but the way it is, I mean, it's really cool. It's a great little car. It has pretty decent top speed. It could actually be a long track vehicle just by itself, but I like how nimble it is, and it's got pretty good brakes for going around corners, so this is my one. And finally, for my long track, it's the Karin Everard. This has easily become one of my favorite trucks in the game. I really love this one. It's a great all-around vehicle. It handles well. It drives great on road, almost as good on road as it does off-road. Well, I got that backwards. It drives almost as good off-road as it does on-road. Because when you do go off-road, you do get some resistance, and this vehicle seems to be able to handle it better. It's not like it's lagging like some of the other vehicles do. It just kind of drags through the grass and dirt. This one actually gets through the grass and off-road dirt roads and stuff like that pretty well. And I love the suspension on it. It doesn't even seem like you're doing any bumps, and it's a really decent off-road vehicle. All right, well, this is Grey Witch. I hope this video helped you out. I will see you next time. Peace.